All right, there we go.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm Kathleen Warshawski with Seniors Blue Book. You're here for today's Senior Care Spotlight. Today, our guest is Miss Sonya Wells with Restland Funeral Homes. She's a community services advisor for them, and she's going to chat with us today about the benefits of pre-planning. Hi, Sonya.
Hello, Miss Kathleen. So great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you. Thank you, Sonya, for so much for being here. Sonya's going to talk to us about the benefits of pre-planning.
Thank you, Kathleen, for having me as part of this community of resources. I'm super excited to be here to share with you the benefits of pre-planning. And I just appreciate the opportunity to come to your community of seniors. So thank you.
Thank you.
So yes, so I'm super excited to be sharing with you because I know Kathleen, her passion is to bring resources to the senior community, and it's my passion as well. I am, as she said, a community service advisor at Restland, and basically what that means is I advise people on the benefits of pre-planning or end-of-life planning, which is something that's inevitable for every one of us. But I want to make this a very pleasant presentation and educate you basically on all the steps that are necessary. Because every day we sit down with families, right? And we sit down with families that are prepared and unprepared. But I want you to consider this. Everyday families also sit down together and they plan for college, they plan for retirement, they plan for weddings, they plan for all of life's events. Well, guess what? It is no different. The only difference is this is something that we don't know when will happen. It's unexpected. And no one likes to have surprises, even in that, especially that. Let me just be real and honest about it. And so what I do is I sit down with families and we help you plan to protect your family on the worst day of their lives. Because planning for your future has always been something that we do. And the difference with this is it helps your family member not to experience not only emotional grief, but financial grief, and to help them know that they are honoring your final wishes. So basically what I'm going to do is just kind of briefly share with you some of the steps that are required for pre-planning. We call it the circle of protection. Now, at Restland, we understand all of the arrangements that have to be made when you are doing pre-planning. And again, we witness countless families come into our facility completely uninformed and just basically unprepared to plan their loved one final arrangement. And we don't want that to be you, because honestly, we all know that on that day, there's stress, there's anxiety, there's confusion, there's just overwhelming grief that family members experience. And what pre-planning does, it helps to eliminate some of the extra things that you already are going to encounter. It lowers the stress level for you, because pre-planning on that day, it can be one of the most difficult things you do. And if you did not know, the hours that it takes to plan an arrangement is about 5 hours when there are no arrangements done. When there are pre-planning plans in place, it takes about an hour. So you do the math. No one wants to sit there while they're thinking about their loved one, heart is overwhelmed, answering questions. So we also have what we call our pre-planning guide, which I can get one of those into your hands as well when we sit down together, if you take advantage of this opportunity to pre-plan. And that pre-planning guide answers over 90% of the questions that will be asked on that day. So I want to go over the circle of protection. And our circle of protection is all of the steps that are required when you are doing your pre-planning in advance, or pre-planning hints in advance, right? And the first step is, of course, your cemetery and your property, which in our professional world, we call it interment rights. And in the consumer world, you would call it a plot. But basically, your plot is your final resting place. That is probably the most expensive part of the process, is choosing your property. And your property is, we at Restland, we have property that ranges from private estates to semi-private, as well as community property. And again, it's going to all depend on what your final wishes are in that regard. So that's the first step in your pre-planning process. Your second step is going to be your pre-planned memorial service. Okay, and that is the actual memorial service. Here's what I've experienced working with families is a lot of families will come in and they will have their funeral package done. They'll have their funeral arrangements taken care of. And your funeral arrangements has to be done through a funeral home. And that includes your basic funeral home staff and director, your embalming, your refrigeration, your transfer of remains, your memorial booklet, actually your casket selections. All of those things are included in your memorial packaging and your memorial funeral services, which is a consumer term that we use memorial service, or you can use a funeral package. But all of that is included in your pre-planning package. When you sit down with an advisor, we will go through all of those steps with you. I chose those two first because those are the two substantial costs that pre-planning covers is the property and your actual memorial service. Now, the other three I'm going to go through are the ones that most of the time people can take care of at the time of need. And at need means that death has occurred. Now, a lot of people like to have everything done, but just in case, I want you to think that you got to come in and do all of this at one time. You can do it in phases. This is why we kind of have it sorted out in pie pieces so that you can take one step at a time. And we always start with the most expensive part of the planning process, which is your property and your pre-planning your funeral service. So your next three will be your opening closing. And your opening closing is basically what in our professional world we call the interment fees. Interment fees are basically the opening of the gravesite and the closing. But it also includes your tent, your chairs, and any gravesite memorial that you would like to have. That is what that interment fees covers. Also, is the fourth thing in your pre-planning is going to be your marker or your basically your marker or your upright monument or headstone. Now, this is again one of those pieces of merchandise that can be purchased at the time of need, or you can pre-plan in advance and design yourself a beautiful personalized marker with photos, hobbies, anything of those nature you can put on your marker and you can design it in advance. And then of course, the last thing that is needed for your end-of-life planning is going to be your auto burial container, or what we call a liner or a vault. Now, at Restland, because we are, one of the 3 to 5 star, well, actually we're 4 to 5 star property. We pride ourselves on making sure that our park is well manicured. And one of the things that we require for all of our plots, specifically below ground plots, or our auto burial or concrete liners or vaults. And the reason that we do is because they stabilize the gravesite. If you've ever gone to visit older properties or funeral cemeteries, you see the graves, they're sinking, the monuments are sinking. And a lot of that has a part to, there is no liner or grave to stabilize that. So that's your final phase of your pre-process. Once all of this in place, your circle of protection is completely done. So as I wrap up here, I want you to understand that giving the gift of pre-planning is really your final gift of love. It really is. It's going to give you peace of mind, knowing that your family has a clear roadmap and they have the confidence to know that they honor your final wishes, in addition to saving, because every year funeral costs go up about 3 to 5%. And so you can lock in the cost today. I have families that I meet with and I do file reviews all the time who bought their pre-planning and their property 10, 20 years ago. And you would be surprised to see the amount of savings. I mean, we're talking about $2,000 property and $5,000 memorial services, whereas today they're like triple in price. So pre-planning is one of the biggest reasons that people pre-plan is for the savings benefits. So I want you to take a moment as I wrap up, and I want you to think about you personally. Have you ever experienced having to pre-plan or do pre-arrangements for someone? If you have, you know what it's like when they are prepared and when they're not prepared. So I invite you to visit preplanningwithrestland.com, where you can download my free pre-planning guide right into your mailbox. Thank you again for listening, and thank you again for having me, Kathleen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sonya, for being here today. We really appreciate that. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that I am going to have Sonya send me a copy of the link so that we can include that with this video. And you'll be able to just click on it and download that information, that great information that she's going to share with you. So thank you again. This is Kathleen Warshawski with Seniors Blue Book signing off. And I thank our guest, Sonya Wells with Restland Funeral Homes, and her conversation about the benefits of pre-planning. Thank you, Sonya.
Thank you.
So Sonya, tell me what that is behind you in your photo.
Absolutely. This is Whispering Waters garden. As you can see, has beautiful water features. So this is one of our premium gardens here. This is what we consider a community garden, but it's one of our premium gardens because of the water features. So give me a call and I'll tell you more about it. Thank you, Kathleen, for asking.
You're welcome. It's beautiful. I think it's just beautiful.
It is.